In the wake of the pandemic, African arts ecosystem has seen a huge economic transformation. There's been a surge in international exhibitions, fairs, and sales as institutions, collectors, and investors grow more appreciative of the cultural and monetary value of the creative output of the continent. In 2021 alone, there were estimates that worldwide sales of work by African makers had surged by over 44% in just 12 months. Now, one of those stoking some of the buzz around African artistic offerings is Ghanaian-German artist Zohra Opoku, whose work is currently being exhibited at the London's Tate Modern Museum as part of an exhibition celebrating African contemporary photography. Now, she's based in Ghana's capital, Accra, and earlier told me about what she'd observed about growing international and local interest in African art.
So the interest in African art, from the local side, we have a collector base which is growing. It's petite, but it's something where we can be proud of, that we also have Africans among us collecting us, and we have African American collectors as well who are very keen to collect art from Ghana. And on the other side, I have to say that I have engaged with collectors for a long time, and it's a conversation which is something we have to also let grow and bloom, and not just be the first of all, and then nothing after that happens. It's really building a network and building trust in what we are doing.
Having moved to Africa, because you're currently based in Accra, having moved to Accra after you were born and you grew up in East Germany, has that moving to the continent affected your own sense of creative identity?
I believe if I wouldn't have moved, I would definitely not be here right now with you. I think the identity, it's my calling. I've grown up in a Caucasian society. Literally the only black person in my city. So coming to Africa, coming to Ghana, definitely pushed me into the direction to learn about myself. And I believe as identity plays a very big role in art, it has to, it helps to be authentic and has to be researching and going deep into, who we are.
So earlier when we were speaking, you mentioned that you thought you saw some of the beginning of that growing international interest in African art in the wake of the Black Lives Matter movement and the murder of George Floyd in the United States. And much of the engine for the Black Lives Matter movement was rooted in the States, or at least not in Africa itself. So do you see amongst those who appreciate African art some kind of conflation between Black art and African art? And for you, is there much of a difference?
Yeah, I think I really don't like to think into stereotypes or boxes. I believe that, the Black artists are also African artists. But of course, the background is different in the sense of growing up, being in the States. I don't really like to categorize that much, but I think the small differences are what are what are we reflecting. And while African contemporary artists are coming from a very traditional painting background, and just in the last decade, it became much more experimental, much more inventive in sense of exploring and identifying with what is happening on the continent, what is more identifying is happening globally. And for African American artists, Black artists, I would say definitely we have the George Floyd movement, which has influenced their emotions strongly, expressing the frustration how Black people are stigmatized in America.